Good evening. Welcome to Greenfield Votes 2015. I'm George Forcier, editor of the Greenfield Recorder, one of the sponsors of this series of debates leading up to Greenfield's November 3 town election. Tonight's debate is the first of 5 that will feature contested candidates for school committee, town council, and mayor, and capped by a town meeting discussion of all contested and uncontested candidates about K-12 education. To bring you these debates, the Recorder has partnered with GCTV, WHAI Radio, and political science students and faculty at Greenfield Community College. Because we all understand such exchanges of information about candidates and issues is vital for any democratic government, large or small. Tonight, we start with candidates vying for 3 seats on the school committee. 2 other people whose names will appear on the ballot, Cameron Ward and Jesse McMillan, chose not to debate tonight. Our moderator is longtime Greenfield reporter Chris Collins, who writes a weekly column on political affairs in the Greenfield area for the Recorder. One brief program note, the debates, which are being streamed live to recorder.com and GCTV's website, will also be available later on the Recorder's Greenfield Votes 2015 webpage, along with other coverage that develops over the course of the campaign. So now to the meat of the matter, and Chris Collins.
Thank you, George. And it's very exciting to be able to host these debates and be able to be the moderator. This is an historic election in Greenfield. This is the first time that Greenfield's elections are being held in November, and the first time every seat is up for election. So there's a lot to cover, and we'll be doing our best to do that in the next 5 Thursdays. Tonight, though, the debate's all about the schools and the school committee, and the format is as follows. Each candidate has 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Following opening statements, candidates will be asked a wide range of questions by our panel, who I'll introduce in a moment. The candidate who receives the question will have 2 minutes to respond, and the other 2 candidates will have 1 minute to respond to the same question. In the event the answers to the question are unclear or evasive, the questioners may be allowed the leeway to ask a clarifying follow-up question. I, as moderator, will also reserve that right to ask follow-ups if necessary. At the end of the panel questions, if time allows, I may ask 1 or 2 additional questions that may be submitted by the audience in attendance tonight. These will be asked in a lightning round format, which will give each candidate 1 minute to issue a response to said question. Following the questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. I'll ask the audience to refrain from any applause or making any noises or gestures which may distract for or in any way impact the tenor and tone of the discussion. At the end of the forum, I'll ask for a round of applause for the candidates and for the democratic process. Now let's meet the candidates for tonight's forum. First, Francia Wisniewski. She's the current vice chair of the Greenfield School Committee. She was first elected to the board in 2012 and in 2014 co-chaired the search committee which recommended the hiring of current superintendent Jordana Harper. Francia is a lifelong educator with a master's degree in education from the University of Massachusetts. Adrienne Nunez has served on the school committee since July of 2014. She has served on or chaired a number of district subcommittees and has chaired most recently the subcommittee on health, safety, and facilities. Adrienne is a graduate of the University of Missouri and has a master's in fine art from the Center for Cartoon Studies, and she's the lead designer and production manager at Echo Point Books and Media. Jason Burns is making his first run for elective office. He's lived in Greenfield for 11 years, is a graduate of Turners Falls High School, and received his graduate and postgraduate degrees from the University of Massachusetts. He has taught history at Hopkins Academy in Hadley since 2005. The other 2 candidates, as George mentioned, are Jesse McMillan and Cameron Ward. Both have chosen not to take part in tonight's debate. And now let's meet our panel for the evening. Anita Fritz, to my immediate right, has covered Greenfield politics and government since 2007. She writes 2 columns for the newspaper, Neighbors and Walkabout. And Laura Mara-Patnode is an Amherst resident and an aspiring elementary school teacher. She's a member of Buzz Eisenberg's American Politics class at Greenfield Community College, which we are happy to have assisting in each of these debates, both behind the camera and in front. Laura currently works as a paraprofessional at Fort River Elementary School in Amherst. Prior to the debate, we drew numbers out of a hat to determine the order in which we'll be proceeding tonight. And Jason Burns drew the number 1, so he gets the first opening statement. Jason Burns, you have 2 minutes for an open.
Thank you very much, Chris. First, I'd like to thank the organizers of tonight's event for giving us the opportunity to allow the voters of Greenfield to hear what we have to say. I'd like to thank our panel and our moderator for being here tonight. And of course, I'd like to thank my fellow candidates for coming out tonight. As an educator and a parent, education is of course very important to me. School districts face many, many issues these days, and we need people in positions such as on school committee who have the knowledge and experience to navigate these issues with both temperance and also with a willingness to ask tough questions. I believe that I have both the knowledge, the experience, and the temperance necessary, and hope that our conversation tonight will help convince you that I am right for the position. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Now, coming in second in the pre-drawing was Francia Wisniewski. She has 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. As Jason said, I want to also thank everybody who here tonight provide an opportunity to share our voice and vision and to be here giving our statements. So thank you all. I have been a 14-year Greenfield resident. I have 2 children in the education system. One is in the math and science in 7th grade, and the other in the math and science in 5th grade. I have been in this school committee for 3 years. I have devoted myself with passion, respect, and to the community in the work we do. I believe that achievement is possible for every Greenfield student in our schools and in our school system. I understand that the school has an important value of strengthening our community. So I have been devoted to be a liaison with our community members and to seek opportunities at community level and state level as well to bring opportunities for us. I have been having opportunities to analyze our data, participate in multiple surveys, and participate with community inputs to see how we can do better in our school district. I am in here for the families, for the children, and I have the ability to listen and find common grounds, and I stand for any discussion that I have made and every decision. I'm excited to continue it if I'm elected to be in the next chapter to whoever gets in this chair, so thank you all.
Thank you, Francia. And 2 minutes opening statement for Adrienne Nunez.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Adrienne Nunez. I have served on the Greenfield School Committee since July of 2014. I am seeking re-election to a 4-year term. I'm a third-generation Mexican and Irish American that was raised in a military family, which meant that we moved all around, and I was exposed to a wide variety of people and places. I believe that this diverse and multicultural background has informed my broad worldview and open nature, and also instilled a deep curiosity and love of learning. I was initially drawn to the serving on the school committee because I recognized an opportunity to serve the community of Greenfield and also to utilize my skills to advocate for something that I believe deeply in, high-quality public education. Since my election last year, I have served on 2 ad hoc subcommittees focused on district configuration, one that is ongoing. I've represented the school committee at the Greenfield High School's self-evaluation for accreditation. I attended the Massachusetts Association of School Committees joint conference, and I have served as chair of the Health, Safety, and Facilities Subcommittee. On that subcommittee, I've had the opportunity to facilitate conversation about very key issues to the community, including the proposed community nursing program, as well as the Davis Street Administrative Office relocation. In that subcommittee, I was also able to facilitate conversation about farm-to-school programming and early identification of substance abuse in our students. I'm asking for the support of the town of Greenfield for the opportunity to build on this experience and continue to serve all of you on the school committee.
Thank you, Adrienne. With the opening statements out of the way, and we're right on time, let's move into our first round of questioning. Anita Fritz will ask the first question of Jason Burns, and Jason, you'll have 2 minutes for a response.
Good evening, everyone. So Jason, where do you stand on so-called high-stakes standardized testing, particularly as the state stands at the doorstep of accepting the PARCC test as its benchmark?
That's an excellent question. I think high-stakes testing is unfortunately a necessary evil. I think it's good for showing individual student growth. I do not think it is a good indicator of how well our teachers or our students are performing as a district, and I do not believe that standardized tests should be the basis for whether or not a student should be receive a diploma. Whether we use the PARCC or the MCAS, I don't particularly see a very large difference between the two. The PARCC is more aligned with the Common Core, which the state has adopted. Again, I think MCAS or PARCC, whichever we use, should be used simply to measure whether or not students individually are growing over the course of their education.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. 2 minute, or actually a 1 minute response from Francia Wisniewski.
I do not support high-stakes testing for the reason that I feel, let me back up. I do support district measurements. I support data. I support that we have ways in which we can find our growth. I think that's key to inform our decisions and to inform how we support our budget. But I do not support because I feel this has been a decision that needs more profound research, and we are rushing. Our teachers are right now concerned. There is an organization, Pearson's, that's leading both teaching testing and PARCC testing, and I think that is conflicting missions, and as you know, I would like to learn more about this. So for now, I do not support high-stake testings. I prefer the whole child support and not stress children over high-stake testings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Francia. And Adrienne Nunez, your 1 minute response.
Thank you. I would agree with both Francia and Jason that the focus for that standardized tests are important and can be a valuable tool for us. However, there are many, many problems with how the data is used and when the data is received. At this time, it is really not a benefit to our educators. I also think that, as Jason mentioned, we should be focusing on student growth more than anything, and we need to meet our children where they are and build on that. What I'd like to see in our classrooms is less emphasis on standardized tests and more power given to the teachers to be able to teach to our students where they are and awaken in them a creativity through creative teaching practices that are not just teaching to the test.
Okay, with that, we'll go to our second question, this from Laura Mar Patnode. And you'll ask that question of Francia Wisniewski, who will have 2 minutes to respond.
Okay. The Massachusetts School Choice Program has been a hot topic of discussion in recent times for Greenfield, particularly with how it affects the budget. Do you feel school choice is a useful tool to force schools to achieve better learning outcomes? If yes, how is it effective? If no, what other method or methods do you believe would be more effective towards this goal?
Thank you. That is a very difficult question to answer. As a person who's been in this board, Greenfield does get extremely affected by school choice. We have 5 different charter schools and great opportunities for children, and but our policies, our politics are defined that that we have this opportunity. At the same time, we're somewhat penalized. The cost per pupil is about $14,000 when you go to a charter schools, and we have to be responsive for that. For parents have to choose what it makes sense for them. And charter schools in Greenfield, actually, we have a charter school right here. They're a Greenfield school, something that we have to work closely with and to find ways in how we can enhance this funding. For being a rural community is also very hard. I think choice in an urban model is better, is a dense population and it's easier. But for us, really small districts like us who are surrounded by wealthier communities, will get really affected. How do we deal with that? Again, being creative and trying to work hard with our community to find goals of success to continue retaining our families and provide opportunities for support and collaboration with those who are providing those who our families go for choice. So thank you.
By the way, if any candidate needs to have a question repeated during the course of this, feel free to ask. But Adrian Nunez, you have 1 minute to respond.
Sure, I agree, Francia. This is quite a difficult question. And I think that there is a lot of confusion over really what's going on with choice here. Right now, I believe that we have just over 400 choice out students. I think that this is an important number to keep in mind, and I think that we should be working towards keeping our students here in Greenfield. And for me, that means putting in more resources here in Greenfield, expanding the programming that we already have, and just improving all of the educational opportunities that the Greenfield Public Schools offer. We do definitely want to keep our students here in district. I will also say that it's definitely tough as a public school to be competing with the many private schools and charter schools that are in this area, but I think that it's part of the challenge that we need to rise to, and we need to hold everyone to high standards and provide the best quality education that we possibly can here in Greenfield.
Okay, thank you. And Jason, you have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. I think charter schools, while I think they have their place in that parents need to make decisions for their students or for their children based on their needs. And I think that some charter schools have programs that are beneficial to students. I don't think all charter schools fit that mold. Funding for charter schools does concern me because it does take resources away from our school district. I also, while charter schools by law can't refuse students, there are ways in which some charter schools go about refusing students, which means they are not actually open to all students, but they're still getting public funds. So in some cases, I think they're nothing but publicly funded private schools, and that concerns me.
Okay, let's go to our third question, and this will go from Anita Fritz, and we'll go to Adrian Nunez.
Is there a place in Greenfield Public Schools for advanced or accelerated programs like the Math and Science Academy?
Is there?
You have 2 minutes. Oops, sorry. 2 minutes to respond, Adrian.
Hi. There is quite a bit of support for the Math and Science Academy. I'm actually on a subcommittee right now focused on grade configuration, taking a very close look at the middle school grades and the upper elementary school grades. And part of this study is actually in response to the popularity of the Math and Science Academy. And I would say that yes, absolutely, there is room for special programs in the Greenfield Public Schools. I think that what we are seeing is quite an interest in these programs. And again, because we are a public school, we need to make sure that these programs are available to all students. So right now, we are responding to that interest and attempting to ensure that everyone has access to this program.
Very good. Jason, 1 minute response.
Thank you. I think that advanced programs in the Greenfield Public Schools are extremely important. My own son attends the Math and Science Academy. One concern I have, though, is whether or not, and I know the school committee is currently working on this problem, or potential problem, I really should say, is are those advanced programs being continued up through the grades so that when those students arrive in 8th grade, there are the math and science classes that are necessary for them. That said, I also think we need to not forget about the students who aren't in the advanced programs, and I would work to ensure that we're looking for innovative ways to support those children as well.
Very good. And Francia, 1 minute response.
Anita, can you repeat your question?
Absolutely. Is there a place in Greenfield Public Schools for advanced or accelerated programs like the Math and Science Academy?
Thank you. I'm a parent of a math and science school, and again, when we made that decision, it was difficult because both the middle school and the math and science had at the moment the amount of support for our children, and I hope that's the case for all of the families. Yes, there is a space, and I hope we have more opportunities for all gifted children in our school district. I want to see that it's not just a math and science, and I feel that the concept has been a response for us to keep a retention of families, but we want to see more math and science or opportunities for growth within the schools that we have, and that means we have funding, infrastructure, and great communication to build these systems within each one of our schools. So yes, there is opportunities for these programs in each one of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Francia. Now we'll go to the second round of questioning, and Laura Mar Patno will ask this question of Jason Burns.
It seems the general public is not aware or completely understanding of the role, purpose, and decisions made by the school committee. What actions would you encourage as a member of the school committee to improve the general public's understanding of the decisions the committee makes and its overall purpose and role in the Greenfield educational system?
Jason, 2 minutes.
Thank you. I think that the role of the school committee is often misunderstood. In my experience as a teacher, I've had parents contact the school committee about other teachers in my profession, and what the community needs to realize is that the job of the school committee is to advocate for the schools with the town, to advocate for the funds to do the work our teachers need to do. It is the role of the school committee to set policy, to set goals, and to set the bar for the school district. It is not the role of the school committee to discipline teachers, to intervene with teachers or administrators. Can you repeat the second part of the question, please?
Yes. What actions would you encourage as a member of the school committee to improve the general public's understanding of the decisions the committee makes, and also concerning the communication between the school committee and the public so that citizens can better understand their role?
Okay, thank you. One of the most important things I think the public can do to better understand what the school committee does is do what our audience is doing tonight, which is tune into meetings. Also, I think the school committee, which I know they already do, their website, all of their meeting minutes and notes are there. I would encourage the public to look into that, and I perhaps would even advocate for something like a school committee newsletter to parents, so the school committee is communicating directly with the parents of Greenfield.
All right, very good. So, Francia, you have a minute to respond to that question.
Laura, I will agree with you and I will disagree with you. I think we have been having many opportunities for to engage the public. As Jason said, the website has been a great improvement to keep transparency on the times of the meetings. Everybody's invited. Currently, there are initiatives that contain community participation. There are basic conditions for engagement, and one of them is, again, the community involvement. So I feel we always can do improvement in our role, engaging the community. I'm totally for it. This is one of the things I preach. I love to make my decisions based on community advice, and I call people. Maybe we can be more mindful of scheduling and try to have meetings at different times, and try to encourage staffing of the school district to be more communicative with local PTOs, newsletters, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Francia. And Adria Nunez, 1 minute.
Sure, could you repeat the question in full?
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
It seems the general public is not aware or completely understanding of the role, purpose, and decisions made by the school committee. What actions would you encourage as a member of the school committee to improve the general public's understanding of the decisions the committee makes and its overall purpose and role in the Greenfield education system?
Great, thank you. This is an issue that is incredibly important to me, and I believe that it is essential for the growth and success of the Greenfield Public Schools that the incoming school committee focus on improved communication and collaboration overall. And this is collaboration between the committee members, as well as between the district and the community, and between the district and the city government. This is so very important. I have been working on this throughout my term. I started a newsletter with the minutes from the Health and Safety Subcommittee. It's in an email newsletter that everyone can receive with a reminder of when the meetings are scheduled. As well, I think that an open newsletter, as Jason suggested, from the school committee to the greater community would be a great idea. I think posting on the new Greenfield Public Schools website would be a great idea. As well, continuing to build on our relationship with the recorder and GCTV and making sure that the facts are being presented and we are getting our message out and people know what is happening in our district.
Thank you, Adrian. Okay, next question goes to Francia Wisniewski, and it comes from Anita Fritz.
Okay, what should be done about the Davis Street administrative offices?
Oh, Anita. You know, the great news about this decision is we have a wider collaboration for this. It's really hard. I mean, we have a growing school district, we have growing needs, we have buses, we're trying to fulfill many needs. So we're working with the mayor. The mayor is working really hard, advising and being proactive, finding a suitable space. At this point, we're just in the research vision, but I will vote for a space that is accessible for families, that is with a maybe walking distance. We have many families that doesn't have transportations, that provides a healthy environment for the central administration, that provide the basic resources and of a hub of a administrative office for Greenfield. I wish I have a magic wand and say we can build a new building or we have a grant to have a new structure, but for now, we have to continue seeking the best opportunity for Davis Street offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Francia. And Adrian Nunez, a 1-minute response.
Sure. I agree with Francia that whatever site we choose, it needs to be accessible to the community. We need to ensure that it is a safe space for children to come and families to come. Currently, the location that is currently on the table is the Greenfield Middle School, and I do believe that this is a good solution to our problem. I think that building has plenty of space to hold not only all of our middle school students, but also the administrative offices. I think it is a great idea to have administrators right there in the school to be around the students, to be engaged in learning. Not only that, but the Greenfield Middle School is located directly on the new internet fiber optic line, which I think is going to be essential for us moving forward. That's I'm in support of that.
That's time.
Thank you.
And Jason Burns, a 1-minute response.
Thank you. In response to your first question of what should be done with the Davis Street building, I think the short answer is it should be torn down. But as to what we do with the offices that are housed there, I agree. I think a central location that is accessible to all families is important. I actually am also in the favor of the idea of possibly the middle school. That being said, it's not a move that can be done lightly or quickly, as the school department cannot shut down for a month while things are packed up and moved. So it's going to take a lot of planning and a lot of forethought.
Since you've all been so good on your time, I'm going to exercise my right to ask a follow-up on this, because 2 of the 3 candidates here are incumbents, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and I'll each give you 1 minute to respond, starting with you, Francia. This has been on the table since last November. Mm-hmm. Why has it taken so long to get to a decision on where to move this operation?
You're right. It's taking long, and we are putting at stake our citizens' tax money, and it's not a decision that's taken lightly. And we have researchers, and we have been trying to come with the best case scenario. At the same time, we're talking about great configuration. So a lot of things are happening at the same time. We have a new superintendent who is trying to put in order teachers' evaluations. So, and again, I feel that the office of the mayor, the town councilors, everybody's feeling proactive about finding a space. So the intention is there to find the best space possible, but again, it has to be in the way that is the best case scenario for citizens. We have a fiduciary responsibility to come with the best case scenario for that space.
Thank you, Francia. Adrian, a minute response to my follow-up.
Yes, I agree. This is a very, very big decision. The reason why it's taken such a long time is because of just that, and as well because of what Jason mentioned, that this isn't something that we can't just stop what's going on in the school district for a month and move everyone. So we have to be very, very strategic about when we actually make this move. Our administrative office actually holds also our server. There is a lot of private information in that server. This is not a matter that can be taken lightly. We need to be paying attention to the security of our students. So as well, our committee has been focused on creating a long-term and very responsible solution, not something that is going to be costly to the district. We are obviously willing to put in money to find a solution that is going to be a good long-term solution, but we don't want to waste tax dollars on some quick interim solution that may not be a good fit for everyone.
Okay, that's 1 minute. And Jason, I know you're not on the committee currently, but you may have a thought on this, so I'll give you a minute to respond.
Correct. As I'm not on the current committee, it's hard to say why it's taking so long. But I would reiterate that, again, the desire to not waste taxpayer money, especially with the idea that whatever move is made needs to be permanent. We can't do a temporary move, which is going to cost a lot of money, and then possibly another temporary move. Whatever decision is made needs to be the final decision.
Very good. Okay, next question from Laura Mar Patnode goes to Adrian Nunez.
The recently revised school use policy charges nonprofits and charity organizations when they use the school, a public facility, for civic activities. Do you feel this is a justified or necessary burden to place on civic institutions? Or can other methods be found to recoup costs other than a direct fee to a civic organization for use of a public facility? Please elaborate.
Adrian, 2 minutes.
In short, I would say that yes, I do think that the fee schedule that our policy committee worked very hard, long and hard hours on, is a fair policy and a fair fee schedule. We definitely took into consideration the needs of the community and the needs of other organizations that would like to use the school facilities. But again, school facilities are secure facilities, and we need to make sure that the security is maintained. Our students, we just had another, school shooting today in Oregon at a community college. These things are not something that we can take lightly, so it's incredibly important that we have the correct staff in place, and we have the correct administrators with keys to the building. All of this costs money, and so ultimately, we need financial support. The schools need financial support, and so unfortunately, we can't just open our doors all of the time to everyone. I do believe that on the fee schedule, and Francia can correct me if I'm wrong, that our fees for the nonprofit organizations were quite low, and we have allowed for the superintendent to voice her opinion or override the fees as she sees necessary. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity here for us to collaborate with many community organizations and ensure that everyone has access to the great facilities that we have.
Okay, thank you. Jason Burns, 1 minute response.
Thank you. I wish we didn't have to charge for civic and nonprofit organizations to use our spaces. However, if we didn't, the money to use the spaces, the lights, the heat, the custodial staff that need to be present, the administrators that need to be present, the cost of that would have to come from somewhere. And as there's only so much money in the school budget, that money would then be diverted away from things like resources for teachers and students. So unfortunately, in the 21st century, we're no longer able to just give space away for free.
Okay, thank you. And Francia, a 1-minute response.
Okay, as a chair of this project, I have to say that first, I support the access to all of our resources in town, including the schools, for the citizens and the community. Second, we're not in the business to make money out of the policies or our infrastructure. We have about 19 different opportunities to get feedback in meetings that were open, and it was really hard because it was a lengthy document with fees that were there since 10 years ago. So we created documents that, we have now a calendar. We're hoping to work with the town in which people can see. We have bring our lawyer to guide us about the effects of not interfering with collective bargaining for custodials, fire safety, children's safety, an application process, and we review about 7 different school districts, including the local school districts, to guide it to have a similar form and data. So we work really hard, and we have a good results out of these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Francia. That's 1 minute. I want to remind you, you're watching a debate of the candidates, 3 of the 5 candidates, for the 3 4-year seats up for grabs in the Greenfield School Committee. This is the first of 5 forums you'll be seeing over the next several Thursday nights up to Election Day, which again is November 3rd. Next week, our forum will feature the candidates in the competitive races for a number of precinct town council seats. Okay, we're into our 3rd round of questioning, and this question goes to Jason Burns from Anita Fritz.
Okay, there have been occasional pushes from the state to combine school districts for financial reasons. Are you for or against regionalization?
I'm against it for a couple reasons. One, when the state makes decisions such as like that, and I know a few years ago my school district faced this, where the state was saying a district should be not smaller than 5,000 students. Well, when you start looking at the school districts out here, we would be looking at 1, maybe 2 school districts for the entire Pioneer Valley. I don't think that's going to save any money, because the amount of money just for busing alone to bus kids from Franklin County down to Hampshire or Hampden County or the Berkshire, all the kids in the Berkshires to some central location, it just doesn't make sense. I also think that when you regionalize and it's too big, it's too easy for the community to not really be involved, and it's too easy to have distant people making decisions that affect our local community and our children. So I absolutely do not support large regionalization.
And you wouldn't support the idea of Greenfield being combined with, say, Gil Montague?
That's a little different in that they're 2 neighboring towns, 2 similar school districts, but I still think there would be a lot of issues to work out.
And no turkey
including
day game.
And no turkey day
really.
game. So that right there, no.
Okay. Francia Wisniewski, 1 minute response.
Okay, I'm open to the idea of regionalization. In fact, I think we have regionalized so many causes and its potential for others. For example, let's say the Gil Montague district have a half-time nurse, and we, Greenfield, have a half-time nurse. We can already have a full-time nurse provide full employment for somebody who can serve 2 districts who have similar needs. Again, this will happen if we build proper infrastructures, not to run schools on the cheap, but to take care of our benefit. Transportation is one of the main burdens that we have. It costs tons, $600,000 plus with Cosmescos to get this, so this is another initiative. So I think we do some version of regionalization. We will have to dig deeper to see what are the meanings and what are the demands. But again, being smaller districts, we can benefit from this.
Okay, Adrian Nunez, 1 minute response.
I think that this is a really interesting idea, and I think that it could have many benefits to especially some of the smaller districts to join up with a district like ours. However, I think that what both Francia and Jason have highlighted, there are quite a few costs associated with this, and especially transportation. We have little control over transportation costs, and so this is something that we would have to take very seriously. As well, I agree that it would be very difficult for the district to be responsive to the local community and the needs of the towns that were involved.
Very good. Okay, next question goes from Laura Mara-Patnode to Francia Wisniewski.
While your presence this evening indicates you welcome a public forum to discuss your issues and qualifications as a candidate for the school committee, do you feel your invited opponent's decision not to participate should negatively influence voters' perceptions? Why or why not? And what do you feel best qualifies you?
So it's a two-part question. Francia,
Yeah.
2 minutes.
I'm sorry, I try to understand. Are you saying, repeat that question again, sorry.
Okay. While your presence this evening indicates you welcome a public forum to discuss your issues and qualifications as a candidate, do you feel your invited opponent's decision not to participate should negatively influence the voters' perceptions? Why or why not? And I'm going to leave it at that part.
Okay, thank you. I'm pretty sure there are compelling reasons I wish to understand our opponents and why they're not here. As I say, I thank for the opportunity because I see this as a moment which we can capture and talk to the citizens who we cannot talk door to door because we are a larger, we don't have the capacity to visit the 10,000 plus registered voters. So I wish I understand better. I'm pretty sure they're doing what they need to do to be elected. And I hope, they can have an opportunity to do this as well. I think this is one way to present your your message, and there are other ways to do it as well. So I want to take a not judging standing and really focus that, as I take the opportunity given here, and I will take the same opportunities when we are in any school committee meetings to be present to when is needed to clarify, to be part of the conversation. So that's my approach, and I just will focus in my approach and welcome and thank for the opportunity.
Great. Okay, thank you, Francia. Adrian Nunez, 1 minute response.
Sure. As Francia mentioned, when you're on the campaign trail, it gives you quite an opportunity to touch base with the community. And I think that this is an exercise in that. And I've really been looking forward to this as more of a conversation about what's going on in our district and the needs of the community, and to get to know those that are interested in being on the team. And so I myself am a little let down that I am not here, or I was not able to get to know our other opponents a little bit better. I feel like that is unfortunate because I still am not familiar with them and their position on key issues. However, I will leave it up to those in the public to decide if they think it was a bad idea to not come to the debate here tonight.
Thank you, Adrian. And Jason Burns.
I think I was fairly clear in my letter to the editor in the paper today that I thought it was a bad idea for them to not be here today. Whether or not the public should view that negatively, I have to leave that up to the public. I believe that part of running for office is you need to make yourself available to the public, and you need to be willing to meet your opponents face to face and discuss the issues.
I'm going to take an opportunity to ask a follow-up to the second half, actually, of Laura's question, which is, and I'll give each a minute to respond, starting with Francia. What qualities do you bring to the table that make you a good choice for school committee?
I'm open to all perspective, and I'm willing to listen to any size. Either I agree or disagree. I feel that bridges communication and unifies our community. I'm one of the 2 women running for a school committee in this board. I represent, a Latino population also. What are those families who have hard access to, and I can bridge that as well. I like data, and I'm advocate for the Greenfield here in Massachusetts, in the nation, and I have been in a long trail of education, so I have experience that qualifies me to be here and to continue supporting our common vision of walking together this journey, which is the best achievement education for each one of the students in Greenfield.
Very good, Francia. Okay, Adrian, your chance for the second half of that question. What makes you a good choice for school committee?
I believe that I'm the best choice for a school committee because I'm an open-minded individual. I am a strong collaborator. I've got great communication skills. During my service in just 1 year, I've developed relationships with every single one of our school committee members, including some very big personalities. I'm driven to serve my community, and I have made myself available to the public as best as possible. I have worked very hard and will continue to work very hard to develop those relationships, to keep the communication lines open between the school committee and the public. In addition, I have a great working relationship with the superintendent, and I would like to continue that.
Okay, very good. And Jason, you have a minute to tell everybody why you would be a good choice.
Well, I have many years of experience in education as an educator. I have negotiated teacher contracts, so I'm familiar with teacher contracts. I have helped to write school policies. I have helped to develop a virtual school plan for a district. I have served on the finance committee of several organizations, so I have a lot of familiarity with the budgeting process. And I like to think that I have an open mind. I welcome debate. I welcome ideas. I try to keep an open mind as to what people around me are saying. And I feel that I could bring a lot to the table for the Greenfield School Committee.
Very good. Okay, we're going to have time for one more question from the panel. And then we have a number of questions from the audience. So I think we have time for one more round. Anita will ask that question, and question will go to Adrian Nunez.
Okay, Greenfield Public Schools have a non-standard grade configuration. This is currently under review. What are your thoughts?
And that goes to Adrian. 2 minutes.
Great. Yes, I suppose it is non-standard. I think that right now in the world of public education, there are quite a many different configurations that exist. I think that what we are focusing on right now in the Greenfield Public Schools is curriculum alignment and development, both vertically and horizontally. And this is key. This is key to the growth of our district, and this is the most important thing to keep in mind as we move forward and we talk about configuration. Buildings are buildings. They should be safe, nurturing spaces. They should allow, a soft spot for our children to be educated. However, I think that what is the most important is to group our students according to what's best for them in terms of curriculum and overall development. And right now, the way that we have our elementary configuration, I think it is K through 4, with the middle school grades 5 through 7, is actually a great configuration for our district. It highlights both our economic situation in terms of funding and finding it's a great solution in terms of our budgetary needs, as well as a great solution for the curriculum and development of our students.
Thank you, Adrian. And Jason, 1 minute response.
I think that the configuration of the grades is secondary to curriculum alignment. I would agree with Adrian. Curriculum alignment is far more important. How the grades are configured within the buildings is purely a matter of finances and space. That said, I do think it's important that this be studied as it is being studied by the school committee, and I think that it's important that we find something and that we stick with it long enough to make sure that that curriculum alignment and that configuration is indeed being the most effective.
Very good. And Francia, 1 minute response.
Okay, we have been faced with a recession in 2007, and we made decisions to blend some schools to make what it was timely, actionable, and relevant to protect our funding. Right now, we have an opportunity to reassess and rethink what is the best configuration for our students. What I believe that we have a review from the state that talking about curriculum again, it presented some challenges. We did not have a coherent curriculum. So putting a group of students together with the proper staffing, proper professional development, and the proper supports, that's the great configuration we're looking for. Neighborhood schools are important. It's important for children to see their peers going from one step to the other, because that's how we create dreams and visions. And for older students to be able to bring to younger students, be role models too. So I like neighborhood schools. I like K through 4. I like preschool altogether. And I like opportunities for collaboration between middle schools and high school.
Very good, Francia. So we have a number of questions, and I must say that people in the audience did not make it easy for me to choose which questions for the lightning round, because there's some great stuff here. I could do an entire hour just on the questions from the audience, but I've chosen a few, and we're going to give you each a 1 minute to response, okay, to these questions. So we'll start with Jason, go from the top of our order as we had before. 3 ways Greenfield can retain outgoing school choice students, and please be specific. What 3 things can you do?
3 things we can do to maintain outgoing students or keep outgoing students.
Retain students from leaving the district, keep students from leaving, basically.
One of the things is consistency. We need to make sure our programs are consistent. We need to make sure that the programs they are looking for are there. 2 is advanced. Often students leave because of the lack of advanced programs. I believe we're working on that. But 3, often I've found that parents move their children not necessarily because of curriculum, but because of how their students feel or are being treated within the schools. So it's very important that we make sure our schools are safe for all students, whether they're the highest performing students or not the highest performing students.
Very good. Francia, 3 specific things Greenfield can do to retain school choice students from leaving.
I used to run playgroup programs, and I used to talk to principals and say, decisions about schools are happening right here at birth, and parents are talking to each other. What are they going to do about school and education? So starting there is one of the strategies, how we collaborate with other partners who have to do with families from birth and start having conversations in recruitment. Second one, keep the arts and sports in our schools, kid opportunities, after-school programs, and third, share our successes and celebrations, and this will provide community opportunities. So all those will continue to be my priorities and strategies when I'm elected.
Very good, Francia. Okay, and Adrian, 3 specific things Greenfield can do to keep school choice students in Greenfield.
Just 3.
Just 3.
Well, I think that we can continue to, as Francia noted, build our relationships with other community programs and offer more enrichment programs for our students and after-school programs, and keep the arts and other opportunities here in our district. As well, highlight what is going on in our district, including our special programs, our farm-to-school programs, and what each of our schools is emphasizing. And I would also say continue to offer a very broad curriculum. It is key to be able to meet all of our individual students where they are, and so we need to offer something to everyone here at Greenfield.
Okay, next question in the lightning round, not a pleasant topic, but an important one. Francia, you get first crack at this. What's the first program you would cut in the event of a bad budget crunch?
Oh.
I know, it's doomsday, but it's important.
I'm sorry, so just let me. Really, it's difficult because first you need your staffing and education, so I will preserve staff. I will cut. I will have to define the priorities: staffing, access to classroom materials. That will be first, and then what is after. Then it will be where you seek your opportunities. You really need this. Again, I've been saying all night, infrastructure to do that. I'm here looking at the budget, which will recently go, and I just say, we did have a very lean budget, and we have not fulfilled. So we always can wish and desire. We cannot cut a special education program, so that's a place we cannot work. So we really have difficulty understanding, but, perhaps reduction of hours, of less needed, it's.
Tough question.
Tough questions.
And your minute's up, so you're off the
Yeah,
hook.
thank you. I was stalling, thank you.
And you did well. Adrian, what budget program would you cut in the event of a crunch?
I would say, how much of a reduction are we talking about here?
It's not specified. I think it's just more of a philosophical question.
I think that there are a lot of really important questions that would need to be asked at the time, and we would need to really think about the community needs at the time that there is this budget crunch. And that would really help to define what programs would need to potentially be cut. I agree with Francia that we would work very hard to keep all of our staff here and not cut in those areas. But before I can really answer that question, I think that we would have to know more specific information.
Okay. And Jason?
I have no idea.
That's honest.
It is honest. Honestly, unless I had something specific in front of me, unless we were faced with a specific situation, I really not sure I can answer that question.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, let's talk about the Math and Science Academy. It's currently part of the middle school, and this question goes to Adrian first. Should the Math and Science Academy be a special standalone program rather than be combined with the middle school?
Do you mean a standalone program in a separate building?
Yeah, I think that's what the question was.
At this time, I do not believe so. I believe that the Math and Science Academy, all of those students and that program should remain intact, but be moved to the Greenfield Middle School building. I think that right now that is the best choice for our students from both locations. As well, it will be a cost savings to the district of approximately $60,000 based on transportation that we are currently spending on transportation to the Math and Science Academy. Again, what we found with the Math and Science Academy is incredible popularity, and we have so much interest in that program that right now we have outgrown the facility that is currently in the Green River School. So I think that it is important to move that to where there is space, save us a little bit of money in the district, and then open up another elementary school there. And that would allow for some room to maneuver in our elementary schools. Now that we are a K-4 elementary configuration, we need a little room there because our elementary schools are tight.
Jason, your thoughts on the Math and Science Academy?
I agree with Adrian. I think the Math and Science Academy should be maintained as a program, but I agree it should be moved to the middle school for several reasons. One, the transportation, not only the cost, but for the kids, for them to be bused from one school to another school and then have to wait to catch another bus to take them home. I just think it's too much. And I also think that some of the programs, such as music, could be served better by them being in one building.
Okay. And Francia, Math and Science Academy, standalone or not?
Okay. I am open. I don't think the space is what it makes the children's success. So it can be, either or. We own the building. What would happen with the building then? I'm looking forward to hear the committee and findings. I don't know. But it should not represent more cost to the community. We should keep small class sizes. That's one of the beauties of this program, that is small class sizes. And we should be keeping the focus of enhanced small class sizes with proper staffing and open to all. So, it can be, to me, it can be, in the middle school, in the Math and Science, in the current Green River facility, but again, it's a building that we own, and so what we do with that.
Okay. That'll be the end of the lightning round, and now we'll go to closing statements, and again, by the order chosen before the debate. Jason Burns gets the first 2-minute closing statement.
When I gave my opening statement, I said that I believe I have the knowledge, the temperance, and the experience to be a good addition to the Greenfield School Committee. And it was my hope that what we shared with the community tonight would help convince you that I am right for that position. I have a lot of experience with many things that the committee would have to deal with, as I've shared with you tonight. And I hope that based on what I've shared with you tonight, you believe also that I am right for the position, and I would appreciate your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And Francia, 2-minute closing response.
So on November 3rd, I'm asking the citizens of Greenfield to continue giving me the opportunity to serve in the school committee. I have done my work with passion, respect, open communication. I will continue establishing and promulgating ownership of our vision, goals, and values as a school district. I will continue monitoring our progress, making accountable. Everybody's in here asking the right questions. To create conditions for achievement in collaboration with the superintendent and everybody who is involved, and to use our community tools to sustain an effective school district and an effective board too. I mean, we're talking about how do we retain the good people who stand in our boards, respect our negotiations and our union contracts. So I will ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Francia. And Adrienne Nunez, 2-minute closing response.
Thank you. I will just emphasize again that I believe that it is essential for the growth and success of the Greenfield Public Schools for our incoming school committee to have improved communication and dedication to better collaboration. As your Greenfield School Committee member, I am and will continue to be committed to better communication and collaboration. As well, I believe in equal access to early childhood education, small class sizes, creative, responsive classrooms. A vote for me is a vote in support of the arts, recess, athletics, and other enrichment opportunities. It's a vote in support of our teachers for their right to collectively bargain, and also for their right to the resources and professional development that they need to best meet our students' needs. Above all, a vote for me is a vote for equity, a focus on providing all students access to high-quality education that prepares them with the skills and knowledge needed to face the challenges of the future and lead successful, healthy, and fulfilling lives.
I want to thank our panelists, Anita Fritz from the Greenfield Recorder and Laura Mar Patnode from Greenfield Community College, the American Politics class. And I want to thank our candidates, Francia Wisniewski and Adrienne Nunez, both incumbents running for re-election, and Jason Burns, making his first run for office in Greenfield for the school committee. My name is Chris Collins. Next week, we're going to have a conversation with 6 candidates, all of whom are running competitive races in various precincts for the Greenfield Town Council as our month of debates continues up until Election Day, November 3rd. For all of us here at GCTV, have a good day.